Brandy, Rocky, Swan Financial, and Sammy buying a home with a VA loan. The home that he has a contract on had a very bad inspection. Problems with cracks in the foundation, water coming in, problems with wood rot, peeling paint, sloping floors, and he says a whole lot more. In the email he sent us, the structural inspection indicated that there was water coming down a hill, hitting the house, and the home needs some sort of French drain to get rid of the water. Okay, so that gives you an idea of how serious the problems are. So Sammy's agent has told him VA probably won't approve the home on their appraisal. But Sammy's wondering, will they? What do they really look for? Any workaround to be able to buy the house?
Yep.
He says, we're moving here from another state and really wanted to buy this house. Ready, Rock.
Yes. So you can get an appraisal done, and then they will assess it and tell you if an appraisal is not a home inspection.
Mm-hmm.
But there are certain things they can go by. So if there's if there are windows that are not painted, if there's drywall missing, if the plumbing's not working correctly, when they turn on the faucets, then yes, that will be noted in an appraisal. But so to speak, a deep clean is done by the home inspector, and all I can tell him to do is order the appraisal and see what the appraiser comes back with, and go from there.
So this is a serious problem. I can tell you, and I don't know if there's like a 3-strike rule where if appraiser or VA appraiser sees a house and if there are 1, 2, or 3 items, they don't allow the home to close because they're representing the government on this thing. But I can tell you in the past, things as simple and easy to fix as peeling paint has blown up a VA deal. Am I right, Randy?
Yeah, absolutely. And you just have to get it repaired. And, everything's an opinion, even on a home inspection. So I think it's best just to get the appraisal done. If they still want to buy the house and they feel comfortable the house is, they think it's solid, then after all that, then that's what I would suggest they do.
All right, so let me bring Chuck Crosby into this because Sammy asks for a workaround. I've got one in thinking about this. But Chuck, I want you to give your wise words of opinion on this because it's not a traditional workaround and there's risk associated with this. My suggestion is if you can get through a repair request and the seller is doing some things but not everything, and the appraiser comes in and says, nope, I'm not passing this because of let's just use the paint as an issue, but it could be a lot of other things, peeling paint. So my suggestion would be, Sammy, if the seller refuses to do any of this and you want to move on with the house, you might just consider doing the repairs yourself. That means either your sweat equity going out there with the seller's permission, of course, and putting a coat of paint and or putting money into repairs prior to closing, and then the appraiser gets called back out again to reevaluate the home to make sure it met the appraisal standards, right? Mm-hmm. So Chuck, explain. There's a major risk here because the whole thing could fall apart right before closing, right?
It could, and I think there are also restrictions as to what the buyer can do. Now, I can't lay my finger on anything about them coming in and doing painting themselves, but where they're putting money into it, I think that's not allowed.
No, it is not allowed. And I don't know, and I should know, if for sure if you can go in and do sweat equity. I don't
know that you can do it and get any kind of remuneration or reimbursement for it.
Oh, no, you definitely can't do that.
Yeah, definitely can't do that.
No,
but if you just went in and said, hey, it's my buddy, I'm going to help him paint today, I don't know. That still runs pretty close.
I'm just saying, because this happens, not that we've done this, but I'm just saying.
I know. I've seen it. I've seen it blow up.
Right.
And I had one of the parties come into my office the buyer's side wanting to sue the seller and say, hey, I want my money back.
Yeah.
And the result was you can't, my opinion was you can't go to court and claim money back when you were fraudulently acting in doing so. It's like, wait a minute, there's dirty hands everywhere here.
Right.
So it did blow up. I don't think you're supposed to do it that way.
Okay, we've said that, and all I'm simply saying is, if Sammy was to do some of the work with the buyer, with the seller's approval on the side, like for example, one thing I remember We had
Okay.
a house where there were some dirty gutters. They were full
Yeah,
of leaves.
understand.
Seller refused to do anything. And so somehow there was some sort of communication where the buyer was allowed to go over there and clean the gutters. VA inspector or appraiser was called back. House sold. Closed.
Yeah. Now, as long as there's no money changing hands,
Right. And that's where I'm going with
right.
this. Okay. Yeah.
that's where I'm getting a little. I can't
All right.
say that it is allowable because there's still a benefit. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the underwriters would have a heyday with that, not just the appraiser.
Yes.
I think it kind of like in your Venn diagram here, you've got your appraisal. Now he may be satisfied, but that doesn't mean that the underwriter is going to look back at that and go, "Hey, wait a minute, everything's cool." And if you're keeping it from the underwriter, just the whole concept of keeping something from an underwriter immediately makes it smell like you're committing fraud.
Right.
And the thing is, with loans, especially VA loans, if there's any kind, it's a felony. I mean, it's
You're asking for trouble. Yeah.
Yeah, you're really asking for trouble.
Yeah. All right.
Now, if there's no money changing hands and somebody just cleans out the gutter, maybe, but I would disclose it to the lender, and I realize this is done, but because it's done doesn't make it right. I remember prior to the crash in '08, late '07, I'd get lenders talking to me about soft seconds. Oh, we do soft seconds every day and twice on Sunday. And it's like, okay, I understand that. I acknowledge that you all do that, but A, I'm not going to do it. And B, just because everybody's doing it doesn't make it right.
One line. What is a soft second?
A soft second is where you create, where you have a first mortgage, say for 80%,
Yeah.
and then you do another mortgage for 20%. And keep in mind that in that day and age, they were going for more than 20%, so that, the house was upside down automatically.
Right.
But then that mortgage never was actually paid, and then somewhere down the line, it would get a release, and just straight up fraud.
Okay. And now we know what that was. We are going to take a break. By the way, if you are thinking about selling your home, you might want to just send me an email. We have a free no obligation booklet that has hundreds of useful tips. For a copy, send an email to bob@WeSellLouisville.com and put selling tips in the subject line. When we come back, 10 ways to keep thieves from stealing your holiday yard decorations. This is a thing. Yeah, right? I'm looking at you, Chuck. You were about to, yeah.
Not a thing for me. My wife is the original Ebenezer Scrooge.
Okay, no yard decorations for Chuck. Well, okay, when we come back. But meanwhile, staying with us, Chuck Crosby Law Offices does a phenomenal job getting your home loan closed. Also does wills, so important, powers of attorney, foreclosure defense, commissioner sales. You can reach Chuck at 499-6360. Randy Rocky, one of the head guys at Swan Financial, they shop the loan, get you the best rate. That's what you want. And very reliable, 645-0736. And if you're thinking of selling your home now or in the near future, or even next year or beyond, I'd love to help you. I work in both Kentucky and Southern Indiana. There's no home too big, no home too small. You can reach me anytime, 376-5483, or go to bobsellslouisville.com, or go to WeSellLouisville.com and fill out the form at the top. You'll get a computerized estimate of your home's value immediately. We're back in a moment on News Radio 840 WHAS.